Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I am the CHALL, and today, Chall Chats more transfers in my little mini recruitment series where I pick 5 players from different leagues to basically say these could be potential targets I would look at this summer for Doncaster Rovers Football Club. And of course, this also plays a massive part into some of the players that could end up being on the big recruitment plan series, the big video which will be unleashed in June or July this year. In today's video, we're going to be looking at non-league football clubs. So that is the National League and down from the National League. So National League and below. Now, before we get started, make sure you do like, comment, subscribe. Click the notification bell so you never miss another YouTube video. We are on the road to 3,000 subscribers and 500,000 views. We are getting so close now to that 500k total view mark. Let's get there as soon as possible, please. And for now, let's have a look at everything in the 5 players that I've chosen for non-league talent that I could see Rovers looking at this summer. So we're going to kick off with a very, well, I won't say very unrealistic, but definitely an unrealistic target in terms of his relationship with Chesterfield at the moment, especially with them being promoted this season from the National League into League Two next season. And it's a player who's out of contract this summer, but it would be an absolutely amazing deal to pull off, despite being very difficult. And that is Ollie Banks. Now, before Chesterfield fans come at me about Ollie Banks and how he's going to stay and this, that, the other, trust me, I know Ollie Banks is probably going to sign a new deal at Chesterfield. However, I've put him on my wish list as someone that I think would be a wonderful addition to our midfield. He's adaptable across the midfield in defence, central, and attack. He just won the Vanarama National League with the Spy Rights, so he's a winning player from a winning squad with a winning mentality. That would be good for a dressing room like Doncaster to add that little extra detail ready to push on next season. His experience is crucial in the attacking midfield number 10 role, so he'll be playing mainly in that number 10 role, but of course he can drop deeper if needed. He knows where the back of the net is, he's a proven goal scorer from midfield and assister from midfield as well, and he's crucial in making the plays in the final third and involved in build-up play. That's been one of his strongest strengths this season, especially during his career at Chesterfield. He's been really strong at linking the play, bringing into the final third. He's been very consistent in the final third. And for me, Ollie Banks would be a very good, experienced signing. I think that he'd be a perfect addition to Doncaster Rovers. And I think that just coming from Chesterfield, you wouldn't have too far to travel either. So for me, I think this would be a wonderful, wonderful signing. And if he can pull this deal off, it would just be unbelievable. His experience would be crucial for this squad going forward. And I think you've got a really good chance with this player. So Ollie Banks for me would be a very, very smart signing. But I know it's probably one of the more difficult ones out of the 5 on this list because of how much Chesterfield fans love this guy. And I know for a fact he's probably going to sign a brand new deal with the Spy Rights. Next up is a player that I have mentioned to you several times on social media, and it's a player that I've been a massive fan of. In fact, I even told either Grant McCann or James Coppinger or Ryan Sampson this name before the game against Accrington, just because I was talking to them about my recruitment series at the moment. I think it was Gavin Baldwin, actually, the chief executive of the club, the CEO of the club, that I said about this particular player. And that is Dan Ellison at Chippenham Town in the National League South. He's a progressive, left-sided centre-back. Of course, he is left-footed, I believe, as well. His towering presence and his height allows him to be a real threat from set pieces. He's a comfortable defender. He brings the ball out of defence very comfortably, very safely, very cautiously. He's calm, he's composed. He can pick the passes into the front players. He has a diverse range of passing in his play. He plays on the front foot. He's aggressive in his starting position. He doesn't give people a moment's rest. He's one of those proper ball playing defenders that doesn't give people a second to breathe. He builds a picture of the game in his head. He's got a real senior football intelligence at that age. And for me, would be a really good signing. Now, there is a couple of other young centre-backs, especially on that left-hand side, especially left-footed centre-backs, that could also be good signings as well. There's Luke Jenkins down in National League South as well, who could be a good signing. But I chose Dan Ellison because of the fact, well, first of all, the main thing, he's 18 years old. I mean, this guy's got such a bright future and he's only 18. And the thing with someone like Dan Ellison is he's a long-term asset. for me, when I look at that Doncaster Rovers squad, when I look at the current Doncaster Rovers squad that they've got going into next season, and that's before any more contracts are agreed at this point in time as of recording this. Ian Lawler, Lewis Jones, you've got an experienced keeper, and you've got a keeper entering that kind of 25 age range. Maxwell's a long-term asset. Senior can be a long-term asset. Anderson's experience. Bailey is absolutely a long-term asset. If Faulkner kicks on next season, he's a long-term asset. Will Flint is 100% a long-term asset, as is Jay McGrath, as is Joe Olowu. Wood's experienced. Sterry's prime. Hurst has got potential still. Close experience. Broadbent's long-term. Stroud Brown is absolutely a long-term asset. Westbrook's experienced. Biggins near his prime. Kuleya's got potential. Satona's got potential. Goodman's got potential. Ironside's experienced. And Miller is nearing prime. So you've got quite a few long-term, potentially sellable assets if needed to progress up the leagues. And this would be another long-term sellable asset. A really good forward-thinking defender on that left-hand side of the back four. You don't even have to throw him straight in there ahead of Olowu or McGrath. You can develop him, take your time with him, have him play some Papa John's Trophy games, or Bristol Street Motors Trophy games, my mistake, with Will Flint maybe, develop a bit of a partnership long term with Ellison and Flint. So you've got Anderson, you've maybe got Wood and Anderson with Olowu as one partnership, Anderson and McGrath maybe as another partnership, and then you've got Ellison and Flint as your kind of young, kind of EFL Trophy partnership centre backs. So you can start to develop some relationships, form some partnerships going forward, and he's a very much a long-term asset that you develop going forward. You don't throw him in straight away, but still needs a little bit of game time just to really forward think his potential. So Ellison for me would be a fantastic signing and really one that I would keep an eye on 100%. Next up on my list, a player that Fylde fans do not want to give up easily, and that is their 2022-23 Academy Player of the Year, described as the non-league Rodri, Taelor O'Kane. At least 4 goals in at least 19 appearances in the Vanarama National League. That's at the very least. He's simple in the way that he plays, a simple, short player in terms of the way he passes, doesn't overcomplicate, keeps his game simple. He favours the shorter, simpler passes. He keeps the ball ticking along. He settles the tempo in the middle of the park. He looks a step or two ahead of the rest. But again, he's another player like Dan Ellison that builds the play in his head. He's got a real senior intelligence at this stage. And for me, again, this is another long-term asset. Again, when you look at that midfield, you'd say Broadbent and Bailey are long-term valued assets. Stroud and Brown is another one. So this would be another addition to that midfield. And to be fair, with Close signing a brand new contract, with Bailey there, with Broadbent there, with Stroud and Brown looking to get into the mix, with either Biggins or Rowe maybe signing a new contract at some point, you would maybe look at that and think maybe we need just one more centre midfielder in there. And I think Taelor O'Kane fits the bill. He doesn't start straight away. You ease him in, you develop him well with your Flynn, with your Stroud Brown, maybe even with your Dan Ellison. And again, this is another long-term valuable asset to the squad that could make the club a lot of money in the long term, and someone who could set the league alight when he gets into his stride and when he gets some more experience with the club under his belt. So again, this is someone you ease into it, you develop over time, and for me, it's someone who I feel could be absolutely fantastic in this team. And to be fair, for an academy player turned senior, you're not expecting a lot of money for this guy. I mean, maybe 100 grand at a push. Part of me reckons Broadbent was around the 90 grand to 100 grand mark, but I don't know for sure. We don't know for sure what the price for Broadbent was. My guess would be around the 95 grand mark as a personal guess. So I'd expect maybe a similar fee for someone like a Taelor O'Kane, maybe something a little bit smaller, depending on how much Fylde value the player and how much they're willing to offer for the player for a football league transfer. So for me, I think Taelor O'Kane would be a wonderful signing at this level and someone who can really develop long term. The penultimate of the 5 is Nikola Tavares, a centre-back from Dagenham and Redbridge. He's been described as a Rolls-Royce defender. Now, what do we mean by that? Effortlessly combines power with graceful gliding over the turf with speed. So he's got power, but he's also got the speed. So he's pretty much a sort of cross between a stopper and a ball-playing defender. He's a modern ball-playing defender with those stopper abilities. Physically excellent. I think you can see that by some of the strength stats in the National League this season. Very comfortable on the ball. Real composure and quality in possession to bring the ball out from the back, which suits our style very, very well. And he's out of contract this summer, so it wouldn't cost a penny. Now then, for me, I feel like he could do a brilliant job if you wanted to put him on that right-hand side. If you wanted to maybe loan out Will Flint for a bit more experience lower down the pyramid, and you look at that and think, right, you've got Ollie and McGrath on one side, you've got Anderson, you've got Wood, you've got Faulkner. If you wanted that extra person just to cover in that position, if you maybe even loan out Faulkner at some point next season, you know, what do you do? Do you bring another centre back? And if you do bring another centre back and you favour someone more competitive on the right-hand side, Tavares is your guy. Again, like I said, he's a very comfortable defender, a forward-thinking, progressive ball-playing centre-back. And for me, I think he's a very underrated player. I think from the highlights that I saw from him going into this video, he's a very underrated player. Dagenham and Redbridge fans, comment down below your thoughts on him. But personally, I think he's a very, very underrated player. And for me, will do an excellent job in this team. And for me, would be a brilliant signing. I think I've got no doubts whatsoever this guy would be an excellent signing for this level. And I think he deserves the step up as well. And finally, on the right back position, we exit this video with Billericay Town's George Wind or Wind. Now then, this guy has reportedly been scouted by Notts County and Stockport in the past, so he must be good. Now, what do we know about George Wind? What will we be getting with George Wind? He gets up and down with pace and consistent energy. He's already made over 100 senior appearances at the age of just 21. Described by a former coach as a prime Gary Neville, so he's a tenacious, aggressive, hard-tackling defender alongside being technically gifted. He's good going forward. He's great in 1v1s. He studied both Wan-Bissaka and Trent Alexander-Arnold, according to reports. He's out of contract in summer 2025, so this one would again be a fee player. Now, again, you could be looking anywhere between 90 and 100 odd grand. I think the most we would pay for a player is probably 100 grand at this point in time. Push for 150 if the price was right and if the player was right. And for me, I think George Wind is a good player. I think he's a fantastic player. I think for me, if you're looking for a young attacking fullback that's going to take over from Sterry long term, but in the short term covers and gives him that competition needed to keep him on his toes, keep him performing like he's at the moment, and replaces the outgoing Tom Nixon from his loan from Hull at the end of the season. Again, you'd probably say George Wind would be a fantastic player, especially scouted potentially by Notts County and Stockport. So, again, for me, I think that this signing would be fantastic, and I would be on board with this 100,000 million%. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. That is your 5 non-league players that I could see as looking at as potential targets this summer for Doncaster Rovers. We only have 2 more of these videos to go from Scotland and Ireland. We are finishing up the Scotland side of it, and then once we've done that, we'll probably just do a double record both of them and set them up for the next couple of weeks. But there we go, guys. Thank you very, very much for watching this video. Make sure you do like, comment, subscribe. And for now, I am the CHALL. Ta-ra for now, and that is full time.